Assassination Classroom Season 2, Episode 15. Wow, just right into it. Please kill me, please help me. That's sort of the issue. You need help, Kayano. I think maybe that's partly what she wants. It's so cool that he can see right through that too. Whoa, there's a new opening, but hold on a second. There's yapping to do. I was talking about this about 10 minutes ago. There's so much extra that can be revealed even to ourselves by, I don't want to say not trusting, but having a little bit of a buffer between what we think we want and say we want, tell other people we want, convince ourselves we want, and like what are our emergent desires through action. They're not always on the same page in some surprising ways. Actually, I feel like maybe this is most often clear for oneself when you look back, because sometimes you can see what you actually were going for in a new clarity based on what you did. And maybe the key distinction there is something like a calmness or a detachment, but like not in an uncaring way, in a relaxed way. I love the idea that while it's true that a lot of times our actions follow our rationale, sometimes our actions follow our subconscious, let's call it, and then we form the rationale around that to explain it or to justify it. Looking at other people in that way can be really interesting. I think Koro Sensei in particular is really good at that. That's what the kids say they want and say who they are, but Koro Sensei sort of not being entangled with it. That's a lot more information than even they do. Nigit's also good at that. And now the new opening, which I'm going to do my best to give a full chance to, because God that I love the previous one. It's still the kids singing. That's 4 for 4, right? Yeah, it does feel that way. Yes. Yeah, we're going down. We're going down. Before we go up, here's what it all meant in the end. I don't want to think about the final bell. No, this is just all down. It's all sad. No! This is the show's goodbye. I don't like it. No! Why would you do that? That was brutal. There was no like saving redemption there. I thought it was gonna be like, yeah, you know, times are hard. Reality is sometimes merciless. You snatched the blanket away from me, but we still have everything we learned. I mean, it's sort of that. We have the memories. We'll keep moving on. We'll take what you gave us with us. So that's beautiful in a bittersweet way. But I mean, I just feel sad most of all. It was sort of unfair, the shoes that this opening had to fill. Because Question or whatever it was called is probably like in my top 5 openings of all time. It's so good. Musically, lyrically, thematically, the fact that it's the kids singing it. I mean, the kids sing all of them, but there's something about them singing that song that is especially special. It's like an extra level of D. It's like 4D. This song is nice, and it made me feel sad. So if that was the point, 10 out of 10. 15th period, confession time. How do we save her? Yeah, she just lost it. Yeah, we're all not even really super worried about the outcome of the fight. We're just worried about her. I don't have a lot of resources right now. Yeah. That's pretty cool anyway, yeah. He's gonna sacrifice himself. It's a metaphor. Gotta cut the tentacles. Pudding, but maybe the pudding was a lie. We still don't know. Right, if it backfires, she gets more angry. It's gotta be honest. I think it's gotta be truthful. Yeah, these kids are not ready to assassinate Koro Sensei. They never will be. I think one thematic way to explain what may appear to be the ridiculous thing of them not wanting him to die, even when it's one of their own doing the killing, is that the heart and the methodology has to be right. It's not about the result. The result you want at the cost of something more valuable, like your soul, let's say, is not a win in the Koro Sensei and Assassination Classroom philosophy. So like, it can't be a victory if Kayano does this in the state she's in, and if it costs her life. I mean, I think you put your faith in Koro Sensei here. What? I don't think that's gonna do it. I think we're beyond clapping here. I like how this is the Gisa's go-to. Maybe I should try clapping again. There's some things you can't kill. There's some problems you can't fix by killing. Took it. Took the hit. Oh God, why was that so horrific? You better be ready, kids. It's now or never. It's not gonna be an attack. It'd be a hug. Give her a hug. A kiss! It's 1 level higher than a hug. Or like a lot of levels higher than a hug. We did learn this in school. Crazily enough. I like this combo meter. I don't believe it either. I think that is a personal act. It's an act of self-deception. It has worked. And we know a certain teacher who's especially proud and who has been totally validated in her teaching methodology. Amazingly, just proving all her haters wrong. In a way. In a manner of speaking. This was a day in school. I told all of you I was the best teacher. Yeah, I was thinking 15 hit combo is sort of low. You love it, damn right. Oh yeah, Koro Sensei. Yeah, he's vulnerable now, you kids could kill him, but like, you know, also they can't. What now, for God's sake, you freaking... All of them, and much better ones than you. Okay, who are you, finally? I don't know, who is this? Who are you? Maybe he played a role in the creation? That would make some sense, right? Doesn't look that fast, or that tough. This is a little bit embarrassing. I mean, obviously, how could you not? Maybe they felt like they were losing control. Yeah, I mean, that is a bit of a shame, but you have the time you have left. And like, of course, there are things that she enjoyed. I mean, that is sort of a framing that she's doing. And also, wasted is kind of a dubious one, because you don't know. And like, maybe it's exactly what you needed, and so it wasn't a waste. I think that's true of a lot of things that initially appear like mistakes. Speaking of like emergent desires and beliefs, there are, of course, random accidents and things that go wrong, but separating from that, in terms of decisions and repeated behaviors, very unlikely that they were random or weren't connected to some deep core beliefs in some way, and so you're just gonna live out what those are. And the world is your backboard, and so the world will show you what those things lead to. And that's ultimately a good thing. It's good to find those things out. I mean, that's part of growth. There are some weird contradictions with time, or rather, it doesn't really make sense to treat the present, the past, and the future the same. Because yeah, looking at the future, you want to avoid mistakes. You want to do your best. The potential is open and can be formed, but the past is a solid line that was formed, and it probably formed because it had to form that way. It's probably only really a waste if like nothing is gained, nothing is developed. It's just bad choice after bad choice, heaping destruction on destruction, throwing good after bad, as they say. It's so tricky because like you don't want to encourage making mistakes, right? But like in hindsight, mistakes often are very valuable. I mean, I guess if they can be avoided, then they should be avoided because they're not fully necessary. If they are necessary, you'll probably make those mistakes. Thinking about my own personal experience, I can point to a lot of good choices I made that were transformative in a great way. But I can say the same thing about a lot of the bad choices I made. Bad in the sense that like in one area, things didn't work out or go well, or there was some inefficiency there. You know, like for example, perfect show to talk about this, I initially dropped out of school, and like as I've been reflecting on in the show, what would have been the highest thing would be to have developed my independent spirit and my questioning, and that transition from full trust and authority to starting to trust myself a little bit more and my own instincts and intuition, doing that sort of like agency handoff that needs to happen at some point, and also done well in school simultaneously because they're not mutually exclusive. But like that was just too much for me at that time to do, and I didn't even know that's what was happening necessarily, right? I was just following instinct, and the net result was, okay, like I used my time suboptimally in school and I guess towards a more traditional career path, but while it's a loss in that way, it still was of net benefit because at least I got the thing that I most needed at that moment based on my level of development, which was exactly that, seeking of personal development and starting to trust my own questioning, etc., which I would say I value more perhaps than what being great in school may have led to, because it's deeply personal and unique to me rather than perhaps what are the circumstances of my life. I can say the same thing about terrible romantic relationships. There's times where I got wrecked, but because I was able to take away things from that wreckage and it wasn't an accident that I got into the wreck, like I walked myself into the wreck, I now am much more equipped, hopefully, to avoid future wrecks, and also I have a more refined sense of what I want and what is good and what is healthy for me. Hindsight will sort of tell based on the choices that you make from here on out. I recently heard a definition of learning that I really liked as it pertains to behavior. I think it's something like, you know it's learning when as a result you change your behavior. If the thing doesn't change your behavior, you haven't learned. This obviously will be maybe the most formative moment of Kayano's life, at least in a positive way, especially considering she was on the verge of death. So it's all up from here. I call this a win. I think now she needs a hug.
僕は自分の長い髪を気にしなくて済むようになった。茅野も言ってたけど、コロ先生って名前、みんなが気に入って1年間使ってきた。
Yeah, she really defined the whole thing.
どんなに一人で苦しんでたとしても、 全部演技だったなんて言わせないよ。みんなと笑って
No one's that good of an actor. Not even Daniel Day-Lewis.
先生だって成人じゃない。いいことばかりしないのはみんな知ってる。
Especially when it comes to panties.
ありがとう。もう演技やめていい。
And the great irony will be like, she stops acting and it's more or less the same.
どんな過去でも真実なら俺らは受け
I
入れます。
really love that line, that take.
過去の話は最後までしたくなかった。
We've noticed.
けれどしなければいけませんね。
If there ever was a moment, I mean,
君たちとの絆を失いたくないですから。
on the contrary, it will only make the bond stronger.
教師をするのはこの E 組が初めてです。
That we knew.
にもかかわらず、ほぼ全教科を滞りなく皆さんに教えることができました。
So much so he can solve it before a grenade
そ
goes
れは
off.
なぜだと思いますか？
Solve problems.
2年前まで先生は死神と呼ばれた殺し屋でした。
Oh, you were a real assassin.
放っておいても来年3月に先生は死にます。
For real? That's
一
terrible.
人で死ぬか、地球ごと死ぬか。
Why? Wait, what? Some kind of timer on his life after which he explodes or something? Who made this and why? Oh man, I was holding out hope that there was a way. Wait, I'm still holding out hope there's a way. Hope against hope. Just because you can't see a way doesn't mean there is no way. Just means you haven't seen it yet.
死だけを信じて育った。劣悪な環境のスラムに生まれ、
Ew, the
彼が
slums.
唯一
Terrible.
子供の頃から信頼できた真実は、殺せば人は死ぬ。
This is very familiar.
それは彼の天職だった。
So does that mean the Reaper we saw stole that identity thing he was cosplaying? Speaking of mistakes leading to good things, this is probably the most extreme example.
数えて1000人を殺す頃には、死神が彼を飾る通り名になっていた。
Wow, this goes much deeper than just the sense of goodness.
どんな殺し屋もこうなってはざまあないな。
And then they experimented on him.
明晰な頭脳に強靭な肉体。
Maybe he volunteered.
今回の実験の素材としてはうってつき。
Okay, yeah, there he is.
伝説の暗殺者死神の新たな生活は朝から晩まで人体実験を受ける日々だ。
He seems pretty cool with it, just chilling. Wow, it's crazy to think this is Koro Sensei. It took me a minute to make that connection. This is like physical body.
わあ、意外。すっごい優しそうな人なんですね。
Oh, maybe they fell in love.
監視役を押し付けられた類か。でしょ？何もしないから解放してくれませんか？
Oh, he's a captive. He's just a very cool cucumber captive.
やりようによっては使える。
Yeah.
だが一つ気になることがある。そのシャツ何？
Oh yeah, she has terrible taste in shirts.
アグリです。よろしくお願いします。
There's some great irony and beauty in what I'm guessing will turn out to be the assassin at the height of his abilities and physical power to this unfathomable level. At that final stage, realizing what actually matters. Again, speaking of mistakes, though, mistakes may be too strong a word for it. This is probably often the case, right? Like the things we desire the most, we get them only to realize there were way more important things that we've been neglecting. But then it sort of begs the question, it's probably good then that you achieved these useless things because they helped you move further along the path of realizing what actually matters. It's weird. I don't know if this is a limitation of humanity or maybe it's a gift of humanity that we can't really get these lessons in that deeply rich and understandable way just from hearing them. Like we've already heard all the good advice. You know, we know everything. There's nothing that we really need that we haven't heard, but there's a lot that we really need that we don't yet understand. And that sort of only comes through this sort of like stumbling around and trial and error and reaching for things and getting burned and reaching for things and getting them and realizing they're not what we thought they would be. I guess it's just a process of life. And thankfully, for most people, it doesn't require exploding your girlfriend.
ATPR ゼリバランスフェーズ SOD 阻
Oh,
害
we're
薬40
enhancing his AT field.
Right.
ATP field. What were you going for here exactly? Maybe he liked the attention. Maybe he was just lonely. Speaking of emergent beliefs, he just chose to stay here.
バイタルチェックしますから。
Yeah, can't wait to use you.
相変わらずダサいシャツ着てます
It
ね。
was the dorky shirts that made Koro Sensei who he was in some
独
roundabout
生
way.
活の清涼剤になればと思ったのに。
And she's very sensitive about her shirts.
なぜか評判
She's getting it from all angles. The shirt attacks.
アグリデータチェック一つ取るのに何分かかってる
ごめんなさい。
And she's busy, huh? She's like moonlighting. Oh my god.
お前の親父がうちの下請けだから
What?
お情けでお前をもらってやるんだ
I always enjoy killing, but I'm gonna especially enjoy killing you. Could you have been any more antagonistic? For the subject you're making super powerful.
暗物質生成に必要な粒子の加速サイクルを生命のサイクルに組み込み、巨大なエネルギーで細胞のエンジンを始動させる。
I understand. It's science. With the power of science.
アルカロイド剤はもう投与をやめた方が。
私自身が実験を巧みにコントロールすれば、成功確率はさらに高まる。 人知を超えた破壊の力が手に入る。
He also knows the science? Amazing. That's a lot of blades.
体力と事務処理だけが取り柄だろうが、モルモットの観察一つできないのか。言ってダメなら体に押し。
Damn.
死神
That was amazing.
今何を。
麻痺させただけですよ。
Through glass.
これで明日も教師ができますね。
I guess part of it was sympathy that broke through. He knows the pain of being stepped on in a very extreme way.
ここに来て3ヶ月も経つ頃には、殺し屋と教師は窮地のように打ち解けていた。
Yeah, now he really is choosing to be here.
私より教師に向いてますよ、死神さん。
Guess what?
一人だけ教え子がいたんですが。
Oh, maybe that's the Reaper we know.
これで死神の命
I've
令とスキル
stole
は
it.
僕だけのものだ。
So you knew who he was. Interesting.
先生だって持ってない変装スキルも最近身につけた。
That's not the brag you think it is.
見えてなかったよね、僕の顔。
How can I see what isn't there? And again, that's not the brag you think it is, because you don't have one. You took it off. This is the second thing I've seen in a week about removing facial features. We need to stop cutting our faces off, guys.
ほぼ完璧に能力を伸ばし、ほぼ完璧に管理してきたつもりですが。
Well, that made you a great teacher, didn't it? But you were teaching for the wrong aims.
自分が生贄であること。死神が人ならざる存在に変わっていくこと。
Deliberately.
それらを感じながらも、彼女は余計なことは何も聞かない。
But she obviously has some concern.
誰にも姿を見せなかった伝説の殺し屋は、見られることが嬉しいことだと
She
初め
actually
て
sees
知った。
him, cares about him.
彼女の教え子たち、椚ヶ丘中学の3年 E 組の生徒が
They
入
all
れ
look
替わ
so
る。
downbeat.
三日月が生まれる2週間前。
Oh, did those things happen on the same day? The breakout and the moon exploding? It's a lot to take in. The fact that he trained the Reaper is a key detail, because it shows he was already sort of leaning in that direction. There's no real reason for him to take on a student that I know of or that I can think of, except for just like a natural calling to do something good or to help someone or to engage in something more meaningful. I mean, sometimes people enter teaching for ego, but I don't think someone like Koro Sensei as the original Reaper would really need to like posture or prove anything in his assassination skills to prove what he is as an assassin. And it's also interesting that the students are a repeat of what happened in a sense, like they're being trained to kill him. So it's the same pattern, but it's fundamentally different, probably because of what's at the root and what the goal is. Another interesting detail that comes to mind is that actually his initial philosophy as the Reaper is sort of where the principle has been for a lot of the show, where it's about the strong stepping on the weak. I mean, Koro Sensei kind of went down that road all the way and saw where it led. So it gives even more credibility and rationale as to why he is levels above that. It's funny, I guess maybe just because I started off the episode talking about this, I'm just seeing it throughout this episode of like showing through you really are rather than what you think you are and say you are through your actions. I mean, I think the relationship with both the Reaper and the lab assistant showed that there was more there than he was letting on. It's not just about like being the best assassin. He was longing for something. It seems like he had a very clear sense, at least subconsciously, that something was missing. And that also could partly explain why it clicked so well. I often think of it as like enzymatic receptors where there's like a ton of things flying by, but the things that are the same shape as you will bond. Like imagine you're a wheel of cheese or marble or something with one particular triangle cut out of it. And then at one point, a triangle that exactly or very closely matches the shape of your gap bonds with your wheel, at which point you have a circle. And it feels random, accidental, maybe somewhat unexplainable. But it makes sense when you think about the fact that there are always 8 trillion shapes flying around you, flying past you. And they just don't stick because you don't have that current shape right now. Like there's things you're ready for based on what you are, the shape you're in. And so like given infinite flying inputs, or practically infinite, the ones that are exactly right for you in this moment are the ones that are going to bond. Similarly to what I said earlier about how like we already have heard all the things we need. We already know all the things we need. We just don't understand the things we need. They're already there, but like we don't have the exact shape yet to bond with them. But like as you move forward in life, as you engage with the world, relevant shapes start to accumulate and your shape changes, at which point you are now ready to receive different incoming shapes, etc., etc. And it only sort of fails to work if there's no engagement, no exploration, or like, you know, you're deliberately protecting yourself from everything incoming. I actually sometimes think that infinite time would solve every problem, because where people begin is different, and the frequency and distribution of particles is different for every person, and the rate of accumulation is different, but you're never not accumulating. So if we had infinite time, like all of us would basically be perfect beings, or as close to it as is humanly possible. And along those lines, I think like a lot of the way we're trying to conceptualize and understand life in terms of informing how to live, it's not about whether or not it's happening, it's about like changing the rate or efficiency of the process. And now the new ending, which we already got a little preview of, and I can feel is kind of sad. God, it's so sad. Why? Do we have to start this already? Can we just save this for the end of the season? I mean, I know it's gonna happen. Or not! We can still save him. Let's not give up hope yet, guys. That would be the ultimate gift to Koro Sensei. That would truly be assassinating him, doing something even he thinks is impossible. Am I crazy? Am I being delusional? Never give up. Koro Sensei saves everyone. The least we can do to honor him is save him too.